everybody, welcome to another live stream from Montana Outdoor Science School. My name's Melanie. We have done a handful of these live streams now. However, know that we may still experience some technological complications. Please just bear with us, be patient, and be forgiving if that does occur. We'll make sure to keep the film rolling as much and as long as we can. Today we are kind of getting into some more animal ambassadors. Before I talk about that though, I want you all to know that if you have any questions, please feel free to type that in to the comments area. We do have somebody standing by who can help answer any questions that you may have. We'll try to get those answered too. We at Moss, our mission is to get kids excited and interested in nature. We do this throughout the school year and during the summer with our summer camps by doing all kinds of science activities, demonstrations, we do observations, we go on field trips. We have our animal ambassadors as well. Last week we showed our corn snake Rosie, and we use these animals as a way of educating kids. Today, our animal that we are going to teach you about is called Larry, and she is a leopard gecko. So, without further ado, I'm going to get you guys started and see her habitat that she lives in. Leopard geckos live in the wild in the Middle East. They live in Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, and they live in the deserts. Larry, there she is. Let me get this cage open for you guys to see. She is an animal that is not quite nocturnal, meaning awake in the nighttime. She's not quite diurnal either, meaning awake in the daytime. She is instead something called a cathameral animal, which means that she gets kind of just snatches of sleep here and there. She wakes up when she needs to eat, when she needs to find a good place to live or take shelter. Any good habitat, we try to replicate what they may have in the wild. So we gave her a little shelter place. We have a few shelter spots in here. This is her area where she can get damp. It's called a wet hide. She also has an area that is very heat specific. We have lamps to keep her warm, and she's also got a cooler side of her tank. She is a reptile, which means that she is not capable of regulating her her temperature. She needs the environment to help her do so. So that's why we have both a warm end and a cold end for her, so she can pick and choose where to go. Someone last time asked me, how do reptiles regulate their temperature? And the answer to that question, it's still very complicated, but I managed to find out a little bit more information. Essentially, they don't have the same metabolism that a lot of other mammals or birds do. They aren't able to make more heat than what their basic body is capable of, which can actually be an advantage if they live in a place where they can exist within a big range of temperatures, whereas us as people, we have to exist within a very small range of temperature. Our temperatures, of course, on average, 98.6 degrees. For Larry, though, she can live in all kinds of ranges of temperature. So that's kind of an advantage that reptiles have over a lot of other animals in that way. She, I kind of like to joke, is a little bit like a cat. She doesn't really like getting woken up, but she is a very good educational animal just because she is so calm. She's very docile, but you'll kind of see some of her behavior here. I'm going to pick her up now and I'll bring her over to the table so we can all get a better look at her. Hi, Larry. Hi. Just like the snake, we don't want to handle any of our animals near their head. Reason being, and you can imagine why a lot of animals dislike getting their head touched. We also just don't want to make them uncomfortable in any kind of way. We don't want them to kind of be unhappy with people at all. I'm going to bring this a little closer so you guys can see. There she is. So Larry, the leopard gecko, is here with us. Like I said, leopard geckos are a desert animal. She will try to find places that are slightly damp in nature, so that could be under bushes, under rocks, to try to get a little bit of moisture. And her skin actually allows her to kind of exist in a way that a lot of reptiles don't. Her skin, I wish you guys could feel it, her skin is so soft. She still has scales, but they're a very, very soft sort of scale, and this allows her to kind of regulate herself and get the moisture that she may need and be able to also shed really easily. So we didn't really talk about this last time with our corn snake, but all reptiles shed in some manner. Oftentimes the smaller, maybe not smaller, but a lot of snakes and a lot of lizards are able to shed their whole skin, and they get rid of the old scales. They kind of outgrow those scales, and they'll shed them all in one go. If you ever had a leopard gecko as a pet, you might not know that just by looking in their habitat, looking for old sheds, because leopard geckos are kind of special. They actually eat their shed after they get done with it, which is kind of funny. There's a couple reasons why they do this. So leopard geckos it's theorized that they want to eliminate any trace that they've been somewhere in nature. It's also theorized that they want to kind of get the vitamins and minerals back from that shed that they have lost, and so they can take their shed and eat it. Larry is very curious and exploratory. You can see she just wants to go wherever she will. So I'm going to bring her back here. No, you stay here, Larry. She, going along with the shed thing, we see a lot of other animals do this, specifically birds with eggshells after their babies have hatched. They will eat the eggshells, oftentimes the females, to get back the nutrients from what was in the eggshell. And so Larry's doing the same thing with her shed, it's theorized. So we never really get to see her shed. She's already devoured it by the time we see that she has had a shed. Being a reptile, she is a vertebrate, so she has a backbone just like we do, just like Rosie the corn snake does. She also has a lot of the same organs in her body, so she has heart, lungs, a digestive system. Something kind of fun and unique with leopard geckos is where they store fat in their body. She has a handful of places she stores fat, but the biggest and most obvious place is her tail. You can see her tail is quite thick. It is almost as wide as the rest of her torso, and that means that she's a really healthy leopard gecko. She's able to after she eats food, any excessive calories can be stored as fat in her tail. They are also, and I wonder if you guys will be able to see this, but she also has areas, where she can be fed, areas where she can store fat kind of around her legs. So she has one area here, and she also has another area just in front of her hind leg. I know you want to be back down, don't you? Let me take a look at the camera, make sure you guys are having a good view of her. Oh, perfect, yes. So, a lot of people get curious about leopard gecko tails. There's oftentimes a lot of stories of lizards that will drop their tails if they are feeling threatened at all. Same thing is true with leopard geckos. Larry is more than capable of kind of detaching a segment of her tail if she feels that she's been threatened. That may be just as simple as being startled, or it could be poor handling might cause that. In the wild, if a predator or even another leopard gecko was harming that creature, the leopard gecko there could then drop their tail to either escape or to kind of create a distraction for the predator. Something I learned that was pretty neat is that the tail itself has quite a few nerves in it, and something happens with the tail where even after it's detached, it'll continue to twitch, and that just makes for even more of a distraction for a predator, especially in the wild. If they're seeing something that's moving around, flopping around, they may tend to go after the tail rather than go after the leopard gecko, who now has a means to escape and is also lighter and maybe quicker to escape too. So that's kind of something that's fun with leopard geckos. With her food, she is strictly an insectivore. So a lot of us know that carnivores are meat eaters. We know herbivores are plant eaters. Omnivores are, of course, somewhere in between those two. But an insectivore is a creature that's very specifically eating insects. She doesn't eat any kind of fruits or veggies. She's only an insectivore. We feed her a variety of crickets, mealworms, and also waxworms. Waxworms are a really, really great source of fat and protein for her. However, she can get overweight if she eats many waxworms, so crickets tend to be on the menu for her oftentimes. She's also, being a reptile, she's one of those creatures that can go into not quite hibernation, but she can go into something called brumation, meaning she kind of reduces her activity level. She doesn't get quite as active, and she eats less due to that. She's kind of saving her energy up during those cold months or those winter months. Let me double check that the camera's still doing well. Awesome, we're still live. Larry's still active right there in the screenshot. Oops. There we go. Going back to her tail, if she does drop her tail, she is able to regrow a tail. However, it's not the same as the tail she might have originally had. And that's true for all leopard geckos. Any tail that they drop will regrow back into more of a stumpy version. It's not quite as smooth. It's not quite as perfect. It might not even be symmetrical. So they do have troubles regrowing their tail, but they are more than capable of doing so, which is a really neat thing. Larry, being a leopard gecko, is a part of the gecko family, of course. Something that's very interesting though is, unlike most other geckos, she does not have the ability to climb smooth surfaces and be up on like a glass wall or upside down. A lot of geckos will see that they have very specialized finger and toe pads that allow for this. On her, she has a pretty normal set of little claws. She doesn't have those well-adapted toe or finger pads, so she can't climb vertical or smooth surfaces. But unlike other geckos, she does have the ability to close her eyelids. So last time we talked about Rosie, the corn snake, and we mentioned how she doesn't have eyelids. A lot of geckos are the same way. They don't have eyelids, meaning they have to actually use their tongue to clean their eyelid. And I think we've all seen that to some variants on media. We've seen that they kind of lick their tongue over their eyelid to clean it and get rid of debris. Or I'm sorry, they lick their eye, not their eyelid, because they don't have eyelids. But Larry does have eyelids, and that's something that's pretty special about her being a gecko in the gecko family. She's kind of calming down here, which is pretty great. She's very, very awake. Something else that's very neat about her, she has a very sensitive sense of sound. Where are you going? So, I hope I can show this to you guys. It may be a little difficult. She has a hearing system that is very different from what mammals and birds have. We often see that birds and predators, mammals, they will kind of bob their head back and forth when they're looking for a sound, or they think that they might have heard a sound. That is them trying to triangulate a sound. Sound travels at a certain speed. It doesn't travel very fast compared to, say, the speed of light. We see this when maybe you go to see fireworks. You see the flash first, and then it takes a moment for you to hear the sound of fireworks. And so sound often travels so that it hits one ear first, and then it'll hit the other ear first. And that's why we see a lot of animals bob back and forth, come back. We'll see them take the time to like triangulate a sound. For Larry, oh, she's getting away. For Larry, she actually has a little tube that goes straight through her skull and collects the sound. Let's see if I can get a good view of it. Let's see. So do you see that little hole there? That little hole is her ear hole. It is covered by a protective membrane. Oh, Larry, come back. And if you can see, that little... Oh. Sorry for the pause, everybody. Hey, Larry. It might be a little difficult to get you guys to see the ear hole. Hi, do you want to pause there? There we go. Nope, pause there. There we go. So there's the ear hole, and if you can line it up just right, sometimes you can see the light from the other side of her head through that hole, and that's how you know, that's how you can visually see there is a tube that kind of goes through her head. What ends up happening to the sound is it will enter one ear, it'll kind of ricochet around, it'll echo through that tube in such a way where she can then detect how fast or how far that sound is coming from, and that's how she is able to figure out where insects may be that she might be hunting. Nice. You're doing so good, Larry. Larry, you might have seen, has done a lot of little tongue flicks. Much like a snake, she uses her tongue to help her smell. It's not her only means of smelling, but she does use it pretty frequently to help her smell. I'm curious if I can get her to eat in front of you guys. I'll have to see in practice. She may not want to eat, but we can see. You gonna stay there, Larry? Oh, where are you going? So Larry is a mature adult leopard gecko. A lot of students will end up asking, is she ever going to lay eggs? The truth is she won't lay eggs unless there is a male around to fertilize them. So she is going to be a single bachelorette for as long as she's here with us at Moss. But she is of adult size, she is fully grown, and she's not going to really get a whole lot bigger than this. But this is her. You're doing well, Larry. You stay there. She may take to eating a cricket or two. I'm going to see if I can get her excited about a cricket or not. Hi. Do you want to eat? Hi. Do you want to eat? Oh, what is that? What is that? In my experience, Larry's always been kind of a shy eater. Mostly, I think she's not so hungry. She does live a pretty relaxed life in captivity, so she doesn't need to expend a lot of energy. Therefore, she's not searching for a lot of food. Do you want this one? Let's see if I can get her closer. Oops, in front of the camera. If she doesn't end up eating, that's fine. She skips meals all the time. She doesn't necessarily have to eat on the daily. You not feeling it? She did lick it. She flicked her tongue at it for a moment. She might have been getting curious about what it is. No? What if I drop it in front of you gently? No, you just want to go off the table. So that's pretty much everything I have to offer to you guys about Larry the leopard gecko. She is a real character. We just got her last year. We adopted her from a teacher who used to have her in a classroom, and now she's a part of our education program. So she came to us really having a good sense of what it felt like to be handled, made her very docile, made her easy to kind of show to kids, to let kids in turn handle her. But from here, I think I'm gonna get going. Remember to like and to follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. We always appreciate you guys joining us for these live feeds. Join us next time. I believe we'll be doing these most Fridays and maybe a handful of Wednesdays, and perhaps we'll even add another day into the week as we get further down the line. Stay safe out there, everybody. Remember to wash your hands, and we will see you next time for another live stream from Montana Outdoor Science School.